For the longest time, I felt like I was constantly busy, but not actually achieving anything. My days would be filled to the brim with work, creating content for this channel, and going to the gym, but somehow I stayed exactly where I was, month after month. Constantly being busy without making the progress you think you'd be making is a fast track to burnout city. In the middle of last year, I looked back on the previous 6 months and I realized I didn't make much meaningful progress at all at work or outside of work, and I just felt like something had to change. This is when I came across a couple of books that changed my mindset about what it actually took to move the needle. In this video, I want to go over a few key science-based strategies that have helped me feel less overwhelmed and actually get more done, and hopefully they can help you avoid a burnout as well. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Catherine and I've been a software engineer for the past 8 years, and if you're interested in content surrounding the tech industry and productivity, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss an upload. One of my biggest weaknesses is trying to pursue way too many things at a time and end up not making a lot of progress in anything. To give you an example, one of my goals last year was to lose a little bit of fat and get a little bit leaner. At the same time, I also wanted to continue growing this channel while also working my 9 to 5, trying to maintain a social life and doing a few other coding side projects. If you've ever tried to cut weight in a safe, sustainable way, you know that it's not easy. Or maybe it is for you, but for me, it really wasn't, and it just sucked up a lot of the limited willpower I had that day. It's also not easy to write, film, and edit long-form content consistently when you have a full-time job. Fellow creators will understand how much time and energy goes into producing a YouTube video. And because of my stubbornness, I didn't want to make the difficult decision of having to choose between my content creation, getting into shape, and maintaining a social life and sleep. I just naively believed that I could do it all. In the end, I stagnated with both goals, creating content for this channel and getting back into shape. I couldn't fully commit to the calorie deficit because my willpower was so drained after a whole day of doing research for a video. And to be honest, I also wasn't consistent with posting because I spent so much time doing cardio and going to the gym and meal prepping. So after 6 months, I took a hard look at myself and I realized that if I had fully committed myself into getting into shape, instead of trying to juggle a bunch of different things, I would have already hit that goal by now, and I would have been able to fully dedicate myself into making content. So feeling a little burned out, I decided that I wasn't even going to think about creating content for a while until I crossed the goal of getting into shape off my list. Immediately, I felt this sense of relief wash over me, because now I felt like my goal was actually achievable, given that I was able to focus a lot more attention and time on it, and I didn't feel so overwhelmed all the time. After making the decision of only focusing on one thing at a time, I was able to hit my fitness goals in only a few weeks, and as a result, I even feel like the quality of my content now has gone up since I'm able to dedicate more mental energy to just content. This example is the basic premise of the book Essentialism by Greg McKeown. Only once you give yourself permission to stop trying to do it all can you make your highest contribution towards the things that really matter. By allowing yourself not to be distracted by a million other shiny objects, you give yourself the ability to actually make significant progress in the things that matter the most. This also has the side effect of reducing overwhelm and giving you the space to invest in quality. It might seem really hard at first to make decisions about what to eliminate, but the truth is, usually we know what activities and opportunities are trivial and which ones are truly worth pursuing. Which brings me to my next point. If you've ever watched a productivity video, then I'm sure you've come across the Pareto principle. So it states that 20% of the inputs account for 80% of the results. Obviously, the numbers are just a rule of thumb. The basic principle is that a small number of inputs account for a large number of the output. I see this uneven ratio of input to results in many domains of my life. For example, 10% of my closet accounts for 90% of what I wear on a day-to-day basis. A handful of apps in the App Store account for the vast majority of downloads. And if you're a software engineer, then you probably know that there's over 100 Git commands, but on a day-to-day basis, you probably only use a handful of them. I could go on. This means we could potentially trim a lot of the proverbial fat in our lives and get even better results by investing in the 10 or 20% that generate the vast majority of the results. To go back to my fitness example, if you're also trying to get into better shape and lose a bit of fat, roughly 80% of your results will be dictated by your diet and the other 20% by your cardiovascular exercise, for most people anyways. I did the math and it turns out I get the same result skipping that bag of chocolate pretzels at night as I do going for a 1-hour run outdoors. The first option takes 0 hours, while the second option takes at least an hour, plus all of your willpower for the day and probably your will to live. This means you're better off figuring out what junk food you can cut from your diet as opposed to signing up for pricey bootcamp classes. This isn't a lose weight quickly hack so much as it is exploiting the unequal distribution of results from efforts in life. I once worked for a company that generated 96% of its revenue from a single product in our suite, but we only devoted 10 to 20% of our engineering resources to the maintenance and development of this product. Instead of satisfying our core customers, we just jumped on the AI hype train, and our focus was scattered among a bunch of half-baked AI apps. Instead of building the features our core customers actually asked for, we devoted most of our resources to building these new AI products nobody asked for or cared about. This resulted in us not only losing a bunch of our core customers, but also so much time and effort wasted investing in other random projects because we kept trying to chase the shiny new object. And you also have to kind of understand that every one of these new projects generated a whole bunch of administrative overhead in the form of meetings, emails, tracking, etc. What if we only focused on the core product? I sometimes wonder if we would have been able to save more money because we didn't have to hire so many more people to work on these moonshot AI projects. A practical application of this 80-20 rule would be to ask yourself, what are the key actions that are leading to outsized results? In addition, what things can you trim that isn't actually moving the needle? For example, if you're trying to learn to code, there are key programming concepts that are going to come up over and over again. And it would make a lot more sense to invest more time and energy deeply understanding those fundamentals rather than, say, syntax from an obscure JavaScript library. That's going to change anyways. If you run a small business or you're a solopreneur, getting leads is key, but so is saving time. That's where today's sponsor, Lead Pages, helps by generating and driving leads to expand your business. If you have a new service or product you'd like to launch, today's sponsor, Lead Pages, helps you set up a new landing page with zero coding skills required. Their tools and templates generate conversions 5 times higher than the industry average. I've personally been using Lead Pages to create a landing page for a tech and productivity newsletter I'm launching. Their professional and easy to customize templates allow me to use my own graphics and logo. I went from mock-up to finished design in only a few minutes. While building it, I received real-time conversion tips from Lead Pages' extensive dataset spanning 10+ years. For example, I learned that the call to action should stand out and use strong words that drive action. Although I know how to code, I know that not everybody does, and I enjoyed using Lead Pages for its collaboration tools, which made it easy to get feedback from my graphic designer and also build an email list effortlessly. So if you're launching a product, Lead Pages is a great tool for creating high-converting pages and generating quality leads, all without needing to code. Lead Page users generate an average of 12+ leads a day. Go to tryleadpages.co/CatherineLee or click the link in the description to try your first 14 days for free and start generating more leads. The next thing I want to talk about is a concept that I came across a couple of years ago, and it's about leveraging your energy clock. People use the term time management a lot, but in my opinion, in my experience, energy is a far more limited resource, especially when it comes to knowledge work. We all have 24 hours in a day, but Cal Newport, who's done a lot of research in this area, claims that we only really have the capacity to do 4 hours of intense, deep work a day. A recent study showed that sleep doctors have an adverse event about 1% of the time at 9 a.m., and that rate quadruples to 4% at 4 p.m. They basically came to the conclusion that it's because of the doctor's fading energy in the afternoon that's led to these higher rates of error. And they've been able to replicate this kind of study with other professions as well. I'm not suggesting we should only work 5 hours a day, although that's not like the worst idea. But because we only have so few deep work hours in a day, it makes sense to save them for our most demanding or impactful tasks. As mentioned earlier, there are likely a few key things that drive most of the results according to the Pareto principle. So it makes sense to reserve your best hours for those key activities. You can then spend the afternoon when you have more distractions and lower energy completing mundane tasks like answering emails or Slack messages or organizing your Google Drive. I'm more of a morning person, so when it comes to intellectually demanding tasks like coding or doing research for this video, I am much more productive in the early hours of the morning before anyone's gotten up and no one is sending me emails or meeting requests or distracting me with text messages. For you, it could be 9 p.m. to past midnight when everyone's gone to bed. The point here is to reserve your most productive hours of the day to the most demanding tasks. This is one of the reasons why I try not to go to the gym in the morning, even though I know a lot of productivity gurus advocate for that. I know that my brain is freshest and my motivation is the highest really early in the morning. So it makes a lot of sense for me to just reserve those hours to code or to write. So just check in with yourself and reflect on when you are the most creative and alert during the day and strategically allocate your most demanding tasks to those hours. I believe that we have enough time to get more meaningful things done if we're strategic with our energy, do fewer things at a time, and focus on the essential. There's a growing movement pushing back against hustle culture and toxic productivity, and it's good to see that there is finally more focus put on the quality of the hours rather than just the quantity. Let me know in the comments below which of these ideas resonate most with you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!